Hi, this is Brad from Pro Wrestling Junkies, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Pro Wrestling Junkies Presents, Getting to Know a Junkie. Each episode will meet a member of this wonderful community. Maybe you share the same background, similar interests, live in the same place. That's where connections are made here. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guest from Toronto, Canada, Mr. Johnny Pota. Hey, Johnny.
Hey, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Of course. My background is Toronto, yet I've never been, but...
I noticed. It's a beautiful skyline.
The closest I've gotten to Canada was Niagara Falls. So
that's pretty close.
Yeah, so I could see you guys. So let's get started. Going back a couple years, where did you grow up? In Toronto?
Yes, I was born and raised here in the city.
And
I've lived like on some of the outskirts and stuff like that, but for the most part, my whole life's been here in Toronto.
And what's the big needle called? Thing that looks like that big needle with the point on it?
The CN Tower?
Yeah, I don't know. Just for the rest of this interview, pretend I'm like the most ignorant person you've ever met. And maybe...
No problem.
Okay. So you live in Toronto now?
Yeah.
Do you have children, a spouse?
No children, but I have 2 dogs.
Keep it that way, as long as you can. They're
That's
much
my goal.
better. Okay, so what kind of hobbies do you have other than wrestling? Do you collect stuff? I can kind of see.
Yeah, well, next to wrestling, I'm a big collector of like just toys in general.
Mm-hmm.
But it's usually in relation to things that I like. Aside from wrestling, which would be like TV, movies, entertainment, and sports-related items. My next hobby besides wrestling is sports. And I like all sports. I would put hockey first, of course, being a Canadian and whatnot.
Of course.
But football would be the next
Does every
best.
Canadian get put on skates? Again, I'm ignorant.
You know what? I'm going to be honest here, and I'm going to not skate that well. I can, but I'm not very good at it. I've yet to learn how to stop properly. I cannot skate backwards. But I did spend a lot of my time in my youth playing street hockey with my friends.
Oh, okay.
And that's a lot of fun. It's a lot safer on the feet than it is on a pair of skates.
Oh my gosh. When you do skate, do you have to make sure there's a wall around the ice so you can crash into it to stop?
When I was young, that's how I started. But now at least I can get up to speed, and I do enjoy leisure skating and pleasure skating. But again, just never really developed to the point where I would be able to even say participate in a game of hockey with anyone. Because my skating skills would just be too poor.
All right, well, let me apologize for your Blue Jays being eliminated. Was it last night, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, you figured.
When I was a kid, I remember them winning the World Series, and I remember all the hype in the city, and it was a great experience. I mean, if it never happens again, so be it. If it does, well, then it's another big party to attend.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, the White Sox won their World Series of my lifetime. I can... For the rest of my lifetime, I'll be fine with wherever they finish. Okay, wrestling. What was your first wrestling memory?
Yeah, you know what? It goes back as far as pretty much all my memories. I just remember seeing it on TV one day and instantly falling in love. From that day forward, it was just, I grew up fairly poor, so I didn't have like any and all of the cable channels, but I would get a few WWF shows. And I just started watching religiously and found in school a couple of my friends enjoyed it as well. And, from that day forward, we never looked back. We were just young and loved wrestling, and we would wrestle each other and set up fake matches and, just have a blast doing it. And then, I would beg my parents for the action figures, and I would, go to beg for tickets to go to the live shows. And for me, it was a very good distraction to, life in general. It was a way to escape reality, let's say, and go into that fantasy world. And it was just, I'm just glad that I grew up with wrestling. There's no doubt about that.
So it really means means a lot to you in your life, wrestling.
I mean, there was a stage when I got a bit older. I would say probably in about 90. Well, when Bret Hart left the WWF, for we all know the screw job and the reasons why, that kind of turned me off. And from that point off, I stopped watching wrestling for many, 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 many years. And actually just most recently got back into it.
Oh, so there was a sizable gap.
A big sizable gap, yeah.
Do you have WWE Network?
I do.
Okay, so like you can kind of catch up on things here and there.
I have gone back. I mean, there were times when, I would catch Raw or something like that. But, at that stage in my life, I was young and I was out partying all the time and hanging out with my friends. I didn't really have, much time to follow wrestling or stay in tune. But if I heard something or saw something like Bret Hart was coming back to Raw or a special appearance by Hulk Hogan, I would pretty much catch the episode if I was like around or available. Or I just stayed very busy at those times in my life, and wrestling kind of got left behind. But my passion for the old school never left. I would still occasionally go back and watch like a lot of the old SummerSlams and WrestleManias and Royal Rumbles and Survivor Series. I still do it to this day and still enjoy it like it's the first time I seen it.
Do you watch episode shows or go to shows with anybody?
When I was a kid, I went to a couple shows with a couple friends, but for the most part, it was a family member or a parent taking me.
Okay. And do you watch, with anyone now, or it's just like when you have the time, you do it?
One of the reasons I've actually gotten back into wrestling was because I had just caught it on a show, and I was sitting at home, and I had my girlfriend at the time who was fairly new. This was about a year and a half ago when we had met, and she was over, and I stumbled across the wrestling channel, and she actually wanted to watch it. And I looked at her and said, "Really?" I was like, "Okay, cool." And I found out she was a wrestling fan, and she was a fan through the stages that I wasn't watching. And so it was kind of fun for both of us to kind of rekindle our passion for wrestling. And so now we are avid watchers of the WWE product and of AEW.
So you got your hooks in her.
She got the hooks back in me. I think it goes both ways.
Okay, well that's great. I would kill for that. For my wife to, oh yeah, I want to watch this too. But
the one thing I'm lucky that she does support. Not the biggest fan, but she's not against it, is all my collecting, of course. And that's
what I wanted
that, I'm allowed to do. And a lot of guys who don't know me very well or who meet me at some of the shows or the events, they always like, "You got a girlfriend?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "With all those toys around?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah."
We got to clone this woman. She sounds fantastic.
I got lucky, what can I tell you?
I want to tell you this. So I hear your name at least 10 times a week from my children. Like all of a sudden, like I'll hear like my older son in his bedroom saying, "Johnny, Pota." And it's because he watches the card breaks with me and like the rumbles and the auctions, in between. And every time Jacob says your name, it's Johnny, Pota. So my kids just say it constantly, just out of the blue too. So you're a bit of a celebrity in my home.
That's a first for me, but I do know a lot of people have started to hear my name and see my name a lot because I've been very active in the wrestling community, mostly for my collecting purposes. For the most part.
Do you have a number one prized possession, or is that too hard to go down the line?
Well, here's the thing. I have an LJN carded Bret Hart figure. And to me, that's my holy grail personally. Like, I could care less if something was worth more or worth less money. That don't matter to me. And I've actually requested to be buried with it when I do pass.
Oh, wow. Well, I hope it's still the same girlfriend because she'll definitely follow through on that.
The rest of my family knows, and hopefully I don't outlive everybody. So.
Okay. Let me give you the two quick questions. Favorite wrestler of all time and currently? I think I know all time.
Well, all time is definitely Bret Hart. There's no doubt about it. But, there's some other great mentions. I mean, as far as like, I was a big Hulkamaniac growing up. And it was just like him and Bret were kind of like equals to me through my youth. And then Bret grew on me in the 90s when he started winning the heavyweight titles and the Intercontinental Championships. And I finally saw a guy who earned his way up the rankings and started getting what he deserved. And then, with Hogan being there just as much of a role model and an inspiration, I also love the Macho Man. So, I mean, with those top three being said, Bret would be number one, but
you can't go wrong with any of them.
Or a dead tie second for me.
Okay, currently.
Currently, I can't explain why, but it's Drew McIntyre. Believe it or not, it's Drew McIntyre. And I see he takes a little bit of heat here and there from people. I hear a lot of people talking about him within my network anyway. I just find that he's another story. I mean, he doesn't remind me of Bret Hart in any way whatsoever, but I have seen him wrestle live. I just find him entertaining. I like the way he presents himself. I like his character. I like how important he views the championship. I like his confidence. There's just a lot of things about Drew that stand out to me where he's actually won me over.
And he's got a great story. Drew McIntyre, from when he started with the company till now. That's a great story.
Right. There's a backing story to him, and it's kind of traditional in a sense. And I like, I won't lie though, I'm one of my other second favorite, but a character I do enjoy for, I guess, essentially its stupidity is Otis.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm a big Otis fan. I enjoy him, and I've also been enjoying Chris Jericho's work lately in AEW. So as far as that promotion goes, I would say Jericho's my top guy in the AEW.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Best show you've ever been to live?
Well, I went to WrestleMania 6 as a kid.
Oh, wow.
But, it's not that I can't say it wasn't the best. Because it was, but it wasn't really the best where I was younger. And so my enjoyment came more from an event that actually took place in Markham, which is a small town, I guess you can call it, just outside of Toronto, maybe about 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. And they had a wrestling show, and I was still quite young. I'd say about 12, 13 years old, maybe pushing 14. And it was just like a house show. And I've always found house shows to be more interactive and more entertaining than a lot of the live shows because you actually get to see the creativity from the wrestlers. And there was this one time that after the event in Markham, the last wrestlers left. It was a Tatanka versus Lex Luger was the main event. And right after they left the ring, I was fortunate enough to be sitting ringside. And all the kids started rushing the ring. So, I looked at my mom at the time and I was like, yeah, I got to do this. So I hustled in with like maybe 40, 50 other kids. Reflecting back on those times, my numbers could be under-exaggerated, over-exaggerated, but there was just a shitload of us who just rushed this ring. And we were all in there. And so it was just the experience of all these kids, all these strangers. You didn't know who they were. They ranged from probably like 12 years old to 20-year-olds, all in this ring, and everybody just starts wrestling each other like we're all in the WWE.
Like a battle royal.
You got guys climbing ropes, jumping off of stuff. It was like nobody got hurt, thankfully.
How did they have to clear it out?
About 30 seconds of fun before security all rushed in and got everybody out.
Okay, do you have time for a quick Would You Rather game? It's 3 easy, quick questions.
I have time for whatever you like.
Okay, so would you rather? Would you rather eat a clump of hair or 5 cotton balls?
That's a good question. I would probably take the cotton balls.
Okay, that's what I would go too. Would you rather fly for 12 hours or drive for 12 hours?
Oh, drive all day.
Okay. And lastly, would you rather walk barefoot over broken glass or on fire?
I'll take the glass.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I thought I was going to go in a different direction, but awesome. Johnny, thank you. At the very least, I feel like I know you better, but really thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time, and hope you have a good rest of your day and you're staying safe and healthy.
I'm doing my best in these times.
All right. Well, I'll be seeing you on Card Break soon, I'm sure.
For sure. I also appreciate you having me and inviting me to do this. It was kind of fun.
My pleasure. All right. You take care.
Maybe we can do it again another time in the future.
Absolutely. Just DM me. You're welcome. Come on whenever you want.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, buddy. Take care.